It's Song Talk Radio.
Welcome to Song Talk Radio, the show with songwriters talking to other songwriters about the craft of songwriting. We share tips, tools, and techniques, and together we all become better at writing songs. I'm your host, Neil Modi, and with me, my co-host, Phil Emery. How you doing, Phil?
I'm doing pretty good. I just came away from a very special concert where a number of industrial-sized ocean-going ships played a symphony using their horns. They do this once every other year in St. John's. And it was absolutely stunningly beautiful. So I'm going to find out.
They actually tune the horns to like.
No, I'm not sure quite how they do it, but they have these ships all across the harbor in St. John's, which is quite large. It's actually a commercial harbor. And so they have these ships all across, and they're all sort of blowing up, like it's actually composed. Somebody composes this, and so they're making use of like the echoes of the space and the distance between them. It's absolutely stunning and very original. So very inspired by that.
There's some video of that. We gotta put that in the show notes because that sounds.
There is. There should be actually.
Very cool. Okay. We definitely want to hear your comments and questions about that. So send us your thoughts, Song Talk Radio on Facebook or Instagram, or feedback at songtalk.ca for the good old-fashioned email, and we'll share your thoughts on the show. And please visit songtalk.ca to see the show post for this episode, to find links to resources we mention, and to download lyric and chord sheets to follow along with the songs that we feature. Tonight, we're happy to welcome singer-songwriter Anne Stott to the show. Hi, Anne. How are you?
Oh, I'm so good. I'm really happy to be here. Thank you.
Great to have you on the show. And before we get to Anne's great song, just a heads up, once again, our songwriting challenge for 2024 has dropped. The songwriting challenge this year is to write a original holiday song, whatever that means to you. And check out the sidebar on songtalk.ca. We have a dedicated webpage to the holiday songwriting challenge. We don't have any due dates yet, but take your time. There's still a good chunk of the summer left to write your holiday song. And on that webpage, we have the launch episode that we did a couple months ago with singer-songwriter Melanie Peterson, and as well a bunch of episodes that we've done in the past related to holiday songs. So a lot of content to go through there, a lot of stuff. And speaking of all the episodes we've done in the past, we're happy to announce that today is episode number 500
Huzzah!
of Song Talk Radio. Hooray!
Wait, I
Sorry,
couldn't bring 500 candles, but I raise a candle to you for your 500 episode.
We can come back next week with 501 of them.
Yeah, I'll scramble.
Yeah, I remember back in the day when we had this show on the radio station at the time it was called Ryerson University, now of course Toronto Metropolitan University. We used to announce the number of the episode right off the bat. So it was like, this is episode 236 or episode 112 or whatever. We stopped doing that because we realized that I think, no one's going to listen to our podcast in linear order from episode 1 on. You just kind of pick and choose which one.
Some people have. I've had people who have gone right back to the very beginning, and boy, some of those early shows are a bit rough. So I admire them for that.
Oh yeah. We had a good thing going. We still have a good thing going.
I think so.
But it's been a long journey. But we had our 10-year anniversary just last fall, so that was fun. And,
it's been a long time.
Here's the 500 more, Phil.
Indeed. Well, maybe not 500, but we'll see how it goes. It's another 10 years.
It's another 10 years, exactly. Okay. And now for the main attraction. Anne Stott is a singer-songwriter, actor, and political rabble-rouser who has brought her elastic and enigmatic sound and edgy compassion to audiences along the Eastern Seaboard and beyond for over 2 decades. Her second album, Love Never Dies, peaked at number 19 on the Relics magazine radio chart. Water to Blood is a song Anne hopes will motivate people who haven't been engaged in climate change to get more active and become a comfort and help rejuvenate and energize those who have been devoting their lives to making change. Welcome to Song Talk Radio, Anne Stott.
Thank you so much.
Awesome. So we're going to get some political rabble-rousing on the show tonight, I think. I'm looking forward to that. But first, let's take a listen to Anne's song, Water to Blood. And remember, folks, visit songtalk.ca, the show post for this episode. Lyric sheet will be up there, so you can follow along with the bouncing rabble-rousers.
You can squeeze the earth till it's dry, and the people till they're weak. Build a wall so high you can't hear the screams, but so far we've had fires, floods, and now the plague. This empire's dying 'cause it can't face change.
Time is here now, it's not coming, it's come. What's it gonna take? Water to blood. Time is here now, it's not coming, it's come. What's it gonna take? Water to blood.
You can ignore the facts, ignore the pleas, ignore the signs, plot your schemes, it'll just come faster. Last week's obsolete, truth's catching up with your greed.
Time is here now, it's not coming, it's come. What's it gonna take? Water to blood. Time is here now, it's not coming, it's come. What's it gonna take? Water to blood. What's it gonna take? 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 Some changes come fast, some changes slow. The change we resist hits the hardest blow. If the water runs out, the blood will flow. The change is ours to choose, drown or row. Time is here now, it's not coming, it's come. What's it gonna take? Water to blood. Time is here now, it's not coming, it's come. What's it gonna take? Water to blood. Time is here now. It's not coming, it's come. What's it gonna take? Water to blood. Time is here now. It's not coming, it's come. What's it gonna take? Water to blood. Time is here now. It's not coming, it's come. What's it gonna take? Water to blood. Time is here now. It's not coming, it's come. What's it gonna take? Water to blood. Time is here now. It's not coming, it's come. What's it gonna take? Water to blood. Time is here now. It's not coming, it's come. What's it gonna take? Water to blood. Time is here now. It's not coming, it's come. What's it gonna take? Water to blood. Time is here now. It's not coming, it's come. What's it gonna take? Water to blood. Time is here now. It's not coming, it's come. What's it gonna take? Water to blood.
Cool.
Very cool.
Thanks.
Great tune.
So what was the process of writing this? Was this a lyric first thing?
This was a lyric first thing, although the groove I had when I sent the demo to Barb Morrison, the promoter, what I had was like a guitar scratch groove. And that I had from something else that I brought in, but it was a lyric first thing. And it was 2020, and I know you guys live next door, but there was a lot going on in our country down here below the 48th parallel, right? Is that what we say?
There's a lot going down there.
Oh,
Still.
oh, wow.
Yeah.
It's exhausting. And I do a lot of free form writing. Like I do a lot of just like getting stuff out and like throwing stuff against the wall and seeing what happens. And I haven't played a lot with like sort of biblical epic language like I do in this song before, but things felt very apocalyptic and biblical and epic. And so that language was coming out, and then out of all that free form writing, actually it kind of separated into two different songs. And this was one of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting that it's not, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily describe it as apocalyptic, although there is an aspect to that, but it's also I think in other words, you struck a balance between being over the top biblical and big, with references to plague and the empire and the central idea of water to blood. It's a very kind of visceral, basic kind of thing going on, right? But at the same time, it is fairly conversational and straightforward in a way that doesn't blow it out of proportion or blow it out of grounded realism either.
Oh, that's good. Well, the water to blood is a biblical reference, right?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Well, some people actually don't know that. Like I've had people say, "What does water to blood mean?" I'm like, "Oh, so there, like there's this thing in Egypt and blah, 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 in the Bible."
Yeah, but I also appreciate how you literally spell it out for those people that. I mean, even if it isn't a biblical reference, if the water runs out, the blood will flow. Like that's pretty much putting it out there.
Right. And I think partially to like what you're saying to sort of undercut, I hope looking back, let's put it this way, looking back, I'm glad that I then made the choruses so straightforward and, conversational, and short, since the verses have this like headier language attached to them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's kind of Nashville songwriting 101. You put your central idea as simply as possible in chorus, and you leave the verses for the descriptive stuff, for the imagery, for the narrative, for the like you said, the more heady stuff. But I really love how the chorus is. It's almost like a chant. It is as a protest song. It is almost like what do we want? When do we want it? Kind of, it has that aspect to it,
Yeah, and then it's highlighted by that thing of having the background singers who were some friends of mine who just came into the studio, Azrin Starkweather and Eliana Gershon. But Barb, the producer, had the idea of making the chorus that call and response thing at the end. Really highlights it, which I love. Yeah. So.
Did the song go through a lot of or even any edits on the way, or was it kind of one and done kind of thing?
No, I'm a big editor. I'm a huge believer in editing, and again, I was doing all this freeform writing, so some of the iteration was like playing around with all the ideas and then like, wait, does this idea go here? Does this idea go there? And then once this song started to form, I still did a lot of editing. And then as I was putting it to music, I mean, I think some of it came pretty quickly. Like that idea, which, some would say isn't very melodic, but to stay on that one note for a while in the verses, like that was there from the beginning. And then this thing of the first and third verse are, I'm such a bad musician. I never know whether it's halftime or it's double time. So the first and third verses take twice as long as the second verse, right? And like the progression of the chords, lasts twice as long. And so then I sing the verse slower. And that idea was always there. Like that was something that just came to me and was there, because I think the song is obviously on the surface about climate change. I love that we have a cat involved. Who is this?
This is Roxy, who does not take no for an answer.
Roxy, I support you all the way. Get in on the conversation.
Sit on that keyboard.
But well, cats are being celebrated this week in the U.S. too, so it's a big cat week here. But the song's really, like, I think more deeply, the subtext is about time and change, and this idea of the third verse of like, change is happening all the time. We're working with it. We're resisting it. We don't like it. We want it. It's not coming. Like, we have all these different relationships to change depending on what the change is. And so I wanted to actually play with time in the context of the song. And when I've been doing it live, I do the first verse out of time now, completely out of time.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, and then the beat kicks in on the first chorus. So that idea was there pretty quickly too. Sorry, what?
When you say out of time, what do you mean?
No tempo, right?
No tempo.
So just for free form.
Yeah, free form.
Right.
How come you decided to go like, I won't call it monotone because it's not, but one note mostly one note in the verses? Because it's kind of one note in the chorus too.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
It's to me, it's a very modern sensibility. A lot of pop songs these days are, their melodies are fairly limited compared to a generation ago where things were a little more sing-songy. I'm generalizing, but Adele notwithstanding.
Okay, so whatever I say now is me looking back. Like it wasn't like I wasn't thinking, oh, this is what modern pop songs sound like now. So that's what they're gonna do, right? Sure. I think
just felt right?
Yeah, it felt right. And also, especially the beginning, I wanted it to be this like very, like, even though I'm saying like you can squeeze the earth till it's dry and the people till they're weak, like it was almost like very quiet and very like direct, right? Like I didn't want to I think I had an instinct away from like dressing it up with melody. It's like, this is the message.
Yeah. And I think that serves, like we were talking earlier about the grounded language versus the biblical epic language. I think that choice of the melody, whether subconscious or not, keeps it kind of grounded, keeps it conversational, and keeps it like you're talking directly to, talking directly to the listener, as opposed to preaching from high up above or something like that. You know what I mean?
Oh, good. I'm glad.
Making a grand pronouncement might be more melodic, I guess.
Right. Oh, good. Yeah.
And maybe I'm reading into that, but
But that's what we do.
Yeah, that's what we do. Overanalyze.
It brought to mind a lot of the work of Midnight Oil, which is an Australian band.
Compliment. Right. Yeah. How do we sleep while I'm in
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So
which was a very political song.
Well, all their stuff was
Midnight Oil is a very political band. Almost every song they write has something to do with climate change or politics or Aboriginal rights or.
Oh, I didn't realize. I didn't know.
They're very much a protest band. I've been a fan for a long time, especially in the 90s and stuff. And they're great songs on top of that. Like they're just good, well-crafted songs first and foremost. Politics aside.
And didn't the singer become? He worked actually.
Yeah, Peter Garrett, the singer, became an MP in Australia.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You did a Glenda Jackson?
Yes.
Love it.
Yeah.
How do you find people respond to the song?
People are really, they really respond to it. And I think like a lot of that is the groove that we managed to find in the studio with Barb Morrison, the producer, and also Jeremy Kinney, the engineer. We were like, Barb had the idea. Actually, it's interesting that you mentioned Midnight Oil. That's a little more like those songs from, if they were the late 80s, early 90s, I can't remember, are a little more rock. But we had talked a little bit about like that sort of British dark pop moment that happened in the early 90s where you'd be listening to this song and you were just thinking it was a pop song. And then you're like, wait, like this is actually saying something, And we started talking about how we wanted to have like an almost dance beat.
Mm-hmm.
Like we didn't want it to actually be a dance song, but we wanted it to be like almost dance.
Well,
and we didn't want
Yeah, it's
Sorry?
got a groove. It's got a funk to it, like it's a great, and if anything, it makes that chorus even catchier. Because I've listened to it a couple times today, and the chorus is just running in my head. Like I can't get it out now. Like it's so
My work here is done.
exactly. It's a new one. It's totally a new one. I mean, but you were saying too that the chorus wasn't always that simple and direct, or did the chorus go through a lot of rewrites?
That, you know what, I think I don't know if the chorus went through a lot of rewrites, or if at first I didn't know what the chorus was versus the verses. You know what I mean? And then at some point it got distilled to that very simple thing. But I think I definitely didn't want it to be like, we played around a little bit in the studio with like more marching kind of beats, obviously not straight up marching, but more of that feel. And that felt too obvious to me. Like that felt like hitting people over the head with it. You know what I mean? So to have the message with this thing we associate more with like sort of fun, light.
Yeah.
Seemed like a cool combination, and people seem to be responding to that.
Is that an important thing for you if you're writing a protest songs? We visited protest songs, I want to say many times, but several times over the course of this podcast, right? And it seems, the successful ones are the ones that don't hit you over the head with the message and don't try and drive it home and tell you what to think. They just give you the information and say, hey, this is how I see it. Is that important to you? Because sometimes it's a fine line, and sometimes I know film. I mean, we were talking about Midnight Oil. We talked about protest songs once. I did bring a Midnight Oil song, and you said they never really resonated with you, just because they do maybe push that a little bit too far, when you feel like you're being preached at to him,
So I've had a long journey on this front because I am pretty politically engaged, and I have only recently written more political songs that I'm satisfied with. So this is probably the first like overtly political song I've released. Now, the truth is I kind of agree that like all songs are political, like everything we do is political.
Yes,
and like
fair enough.
I like on my album Love Never Dies, I have a song called We Are Here, and it's talking about like finding a sense of internal freedom. But for me, there's not a lot of disconnection between that and, external freedom, but it's not an overtly political song. It's not like, oh, this song is about blah. Whereas Water to Blood, it's like, oh, this song is about the climate crisis. And one of the reasons that for a long time I wasn't satisfied with the language is I think it's very hard to write a political song that isn't just telling people what you think, right? Like to embed it in a context or a theme or a subtext that has some kind of deeper resonance, right? Which I think every piece of art should do, right? Like, which is why, for me, like part of the reason I think the song works is that, it's about this very specific thing, which I care about and which I'm worried about. And it has these deeper themes of like change and how we respond to change and time and how, in Euro-American culture, we're very hung up on like controlling time, right? Like everything's scheduled. This is how things run. This is how things work. This is what we do. We're in control. And it's like, yeah, but actually not really. You know what I mean? And so
until there's a flood or a fire.
Yeah, exactly. Because of how we've controlled everything,
yes, exactly.
Right? So I agree with you that I think it's really, really hard to write a song about a very specific topic and keep it personal or resonant on other levels. And it's why and now on this album, which is coming out in September, I actually have 3 songs and they're very different. And I'm not opposed to hitting people over the head a little. Like, so this language that I was working on that became Water to Blood, it also became this other song called White Lies. which took shape more in the wake of George Floyd's murder and is about racism in America. And it's pretty like, it's hitting people over the head, and the vibe of it hits people over the head too. But again, I think there's resonance underneath the subject that gives it body beyond just saying, this is what you should think, because this is what I think, But it's taken a long time for me to write a song like that I feel satisfied with, a really long time. And I do like the sneaky thing. I do like that we're like sneaking in the message with the fun groove. Like I enjoy that about this song.
Yeah, because if you can dance to it, you're not being hit over the head.
Exactly. But hopefully you can march to it too. So,
get the troops online. Yeah.
Exactly.
Interesting. Yeah. No, I'm actually curious now if you look to, other artists, famous or otherwise, that have, written protest songs that work like that, that speaks to you on a personal level, but they're still about something. And like all the things you talk about, like, are they that meet that standard?
Beyonce's been doing a great job of that.
Who? Sorry.
Beyonce, like on the Lemonade album, like the song Freedom, like I think that's like a banger song, and actually what popped to mind really quickly was it's not a fun song, so it's not working on that level, but I think 41 Shots by Bruce Springsteen after the Amadou Diallo shooting in the early 90s was a really successful version of that. I mean, obviously there's so much rap and hip hop that's overtly political, and the language is so fantastic. You know what I mean? Like incredible. I'm trying to think about, do I listen? I actually don't. I mean, I've listened to a lot of Dylan. Like I went through a phase where I listened to Dylan constantly for a couple of years, and he obviously has written some of the best political popular songs out there, right? But then we have to go back to the history of blues too in the US, and the way that the blues could like take one phrase and turn it around in so many different ways, I mean, there are a lot of examples. I know I'm getting very broad. I'm not getting specific.
Yeah, I kind of wonder that about, especially about older music, like say older, but like even stuff from the 60s or 70s. Like if you hear a song kids hear a song today that's a protest song against the Vietnam War, is it really going to resonate with them? Are they even going to know what, even if the references are overt, are they going to know what they're talking about? I wonder, like, so let's say magically climate change is solved within the next 10 years. We're done. We're good. Like, what does the song mean then? What does any climate change song mean?
I think there's the overt message of the lyrics, and then I think there's energy. And sometimes energy translates, like I'm also an actor, and I'm a sort of film nut. And I'm thinking about how Bonnie and Clyde resonated with the youth of the late 60s, even though it had nothing to do with what was going on in the late 60s, but that like rebel thing, living outside the system, being persecuted, like they embraced the energy of that film. Mm-hmm. Like even though the content didn't match. So I think sometimes it's as much about that. You know what else just came to mind because somebody just saw them in concert and said they slayed? Free Your Mind by En Vogue. Remember that song? Free your mind, the rest will follow.
Oh, okay.
Be colorblind, don't be so shallow.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was these Black women like sounding off about how they're treated as Black women, but they could sing one, and they were doing like 4-part harmony or something. Yeah. And it was this pop song. It was fantastic. Yeah. It's a really good one, actually.
I guess that's the hope that you write something that it stands the test of time. It's timeless. It'll resonate in in different contexts and different times, a generation from now, 2 generations from now, it'll still be resonant, even if it is in a slightly different way.
Right. I mean, the truth is very few pieces of art do that, right? Like very, very, very few. But that is the dream, that you like hit on the 1 or the 2, or, you know, if you're lucky, more, that like live beyond.
Absolutely. Great stuff. All right, I think I hear the band.
I am hearing the band, I'm afraid.
I hear a band for
all the time we have on Song Talk Radio. Special thanks to Anne Stott. Where can our listeners find out more about you and hear some more tunes?
So my website is theannestott.com. So there's my name, ANNESTOTT, with the word "the" in front of it. And from there, you can link to all my social media and all the music platforms that have this song and many others streaming on them.
Cool. I noticed you have a Bandcamp account, so listeners, that's a great way to support artists is through Bandcamp. We just love band campers.
Indeed.
And we love to hear from you. So send your comments on Facebook or Instagram to @SongTalkRadio, or send us an email, feedback@songtalk.ca. Also, be sure to check out our YouTube channel for live performance videos, full episodes, Phil's cats. Subscribe today to Song Talk Radio podcast on your favorite podcast provider. You can find links to all the products, books, and web services we mentioned on the show on the resources page on the website. And please visit us at our next monthly Song Talk meetup. Whether you're in Toronto for our in-person meetups or anywhere in the world for our online meetups, it's free to join on meetup.com and free to attend. Bring a song and a lyric sheet and get constructive feedback from other songwriters. Stop by songtalk.ca for the link. You can follow me at neilmodi.com. You can follow Phil
at philemery.ca.
And what's your favorite social media channel? Where should people follow you the most?
I guess right now I'd say Instagram, and that's also the Anne Stott. That's the handle.
Perfect. All right. Be sure to stop by the website, songtalk.ca, to browse past shows, all 500 of them, and find out how you can be a guest. Thanks for tuning in, and keep on writing.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Great stuff.
Yeah, fascinating little show.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I loved it.
Apologies
I was
for,
asking that. I was asking that last little bit because it came to mind. I wrote a holiday song in the first year of the pandemic called "Silent Christmas," where everyone's just kind of hunkering down at home and being with themselves. And let's enjoy that. That's it's not such a bad thing necessarily, right? And I'm looking at the song 2 years later and going, this is not going to mean anything to anybody anymore. We're moving forward. Hopefully we don't have another pandemic, but it's like one of those things where it's like really of its time.
Right.
That's all that it served.
Right. And again, that's another challenge with the political songs, right?
Yeah.
Is that you're speaking to a moment, and how do you lift out of that? How do you either drop below that or lift out of that so that you're speaking to that moment and the wider experience
implications of it, whatever.
Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah.
It's really hard.
For sure.
Yeah.
I think about in the 60s, Fortunate Son, which was a Vietnam protest song. But again, a lot of people wouldn't understand because most young people would not understand, and I certainly didn't, how if you were, I think, in university, you wouldn't be drafted. So the people who were drafted were the poor and the minorities who were in university.
Yeah.
So.
The class element of the draft in the U.S. was so pronounced.
Yeah, I had no idea. I just, I never really understood it as a kid. I just saw it talked about on TV a lot, but you didn't really know what was going on. But
Right.
so yeah, protest songs are they can be. I think they're a hard song to do well. You know, it's always a challenge. It's I've tried a couple of them, but not successfully, I don't think.
Well, I've tried many, 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 many times, in my opinion, unsuccessfully. I mean, it'd be interesting to go back and look at some of them. I'd have to dig through a lot of journals. But yeah, I mean, I tried a lot of times, and it just felt very pedantic, like we were saying. It just felt like me lecturing people. And it's like, I don't want to put that out, and nobody wants to hear that. And, you know,
Yeah.
so, and I think actually there's something about like the insanity of 2020 that may have like fried my synapses in a slightly different wiring, you know, that maybe like hooked things up in a different way. We'll see what happens from here, you know.
It is feeling a bit more positive, you know, some changes.
Yeah, good energy this week.
Very good energy. Let's hope it lasts. The globe is counting on it.
I know. It's like, talk about the whole world is watching, right? Like, woo. I know. It's so,
So no one cares about Canada that way. No one's going, oh no, what happens if, the Conservatives get into Canada? What's going to happen? No, you won't be able to get maple syrup.
Well, I'm caring about Canada right now because we booked a trip to Alberta in the second week of August. It's currently being burned out of the ground.
On fire. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, are there still fires going on in the west?
Oh, yeah. The town of Jasper, which is a historic old Rocky Mountain town, just got decimated last night.
Yeah. I was there once.
The 100-year-old hotel is like gone.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. It's so scary. And that far north, you know, it's just like, it's so terrifying. I was talking to someone last summer who's from Ontario and actually does emergency response stuff, through Rubicon and stuff. She happened to be in New York, but she was saying it was that there'd been so little snowpack the year before, and that's why the fires raged the way they did.
Oh, yeah, quite possible.
Yeah, so scary.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hope it goes this way. I mean, really, like, there are people who are like, well, everyone's just relieved Biden dropped out, but this level of energy doesn't feel like just relief to me.
Yeah.
Like the amount of fundraising, the amount of people who've registered to vote, like it feels like something more than that to me. So I hope it continues.
Let's hope.
I can't believe we even have to go through this insanity again. I'm so mad. We have to vote him out again.
I know. The fact that he was convicted too is just
insane. I don't get it.
And now it's just become like a feather in his cap to his followers.
Yeah,
whatever he does, it's like oh, now that's cool.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's become a reality TV show.
Yeah.
Yeah. Although here's some good news, you guys. I just learned that the NDAs for The Apprentice expire this year. And yeah. And there are people who worked on the show who feel very guilty, you know, because they basically created this persona that doesn't exist.
Right.
Right. That is what millions of Americans think Donald Trump is. And it's how he built his empire. I mean, they should know by now that's not who he is, but they don't care because they like it, whatever. There's so much to say about that. But apparently some of the people who worked on the show are making a documentary about working with him and how bad it was and how awful he is. And
that's going to be something.
Yeah. I mean, the people who are diehards won't care, but that sliver.
Yeah.
Those people that I feel like, especially 2020 revealed, I think there was a big majority that drifted that way. That probably could easily be, not so easily, but potentially.
Yeah.
At least the other way.
Fingers crossed. I hope we do right by everybody. Ugh, awful. Well, thank you so much. This was really fun.
Yeah, thanks for coming. Thanks for joining us. It's been great.
it usually takes about a week for the podcast to turn around, sometimes a bit more. But
Okay.
we will send you an email when it goes live, and if you could share it amongst your folks, that would be awesome.
I will share it everywhere.
Great.
Awesomeness.
Okay.
Great.
All right.
Take care.
Thanks so
Okay,
much.
take care. Great to meet you, Anne.
Take care.
You too. Bye.
Bye-bye.